Hello, my name is Dawn Del Rio, and I'm the Deputy Resident Representative with UNDP in Myanmar. We are very proud at UNDP to be associated with this Business Integrity Handbook and to have worked with the Myanmar Center for Responsible Business, the Myanmar Anti-Corruption Commission, and the Federation of the Chambers of Commerce in its development. We would also like to acknowledge the very kind support from the United Kingdom's Foreign and Commonwealth Office through its Fair Biz project that has made this handbook possible. UNDP in Myanmar has been associated with fighting corruption and working with the Anti-Corruption Commission since its formation in 2014. And we also have worked globally since the early 1990s to develop programs that help to address and curb corruption. Since then, UNDP has continued to provide technical assistance in the area of anti-corruption. Our mandates on poverty reduction, realizing the SDGs, and promoting sustainable development mean that we recognize the intimate role corruption plays in how it is linked to poverty. Since corruption has serious consequences on economic growth, poverty and inequality, governance, gender, equality, and environment, anti-corruption is a cross-cutting human development issue that requires comprehensive and coordinated approach to address. Governments across the world and in Myanmar therefore have to play a leading role in driving efforts to combat corruption. The good news is there's more attention now than ever before on the role that businesses can play in promoting good business practices, being transparent, and advocating for reform to tackle corruption. We believe that any business has a responsibility to act with integrity and transparency. This is because businesses are not only key actors in a country's economic development, but their actions also have an impact on society. However, we also know that this is easier said than done, especially when corruption is systematic and become part of the normal day-to-day lives of businesses and communities in many countries, including Myanmar. As Myanmar continues to reform and open up its economy to the international community and investment, international companies looking to enter into the marketplace will place a high premium on partnerships in Myanmar with businesses that act with integrity and do not engage in corrupt practices. Businesses here in Myanmar must therefore have the correct understanding and knowledge and tools to combat corruption. And this handbook aims at providing practical guidance for businesses, particularly small and medium-sized enterprises, to be able to help them to reduce their exposure to risks of corruption and the risks that corruption creates. Remember that 70% of the small and medium enterprises in transitional economies like Myanmar perceive corruption as an impediment to their business. As our handbook clarifies, a company has to put in place an effective anti-corruption program. And this has advantages and will provide advantages to companies over their competitors. This is a win-win for businesses and for the country's development. I'd like just to take a final moment to be able to talk about the COVID pandemic. While Myanmar has been very fortunate to keep the number of COVID-19 cases low to date, there is growing information that high levels of economic impact due to COVID-19 are being seen. There is also growing evidence that there are heightened risks of corrupt practices as businesses struggle to survive in this very difficult circumstances. In this context, the norms and institutions that support Myanmar's economy are being tested like they never have been before. We would like to stress how businesses can respond to the crisis, and how they do respond will help shape the public attitudes towards the private sector for many years to come. Many firms in Myanmar have risen to this challenge, address the COVID-19 pandemic. They've contributed medical supplies, implementing worker well-being programs, and offered support to impacted communities. We applaud their actions, and we believe that acting responsibly and with integrity is key to maintaining businesses' clients, consumers, employees, shareholders, and the respective communities that will be long-lasting well beyond this current crisis. If you would like to know more about what your company can do to prevent and mitigate adverse impacts of the pandemic, please have a look now at a simple and accessible tool that UNDP has produced. It's called the Human Rights Due Diligence and COVID-19 Rapid Assessment for Businesses. It will help businesses to consider and manage their human rights impacts of their operations. You can find the link to this practical handbook in both English and Myanmar next to the link to this video. It's been my pleasure to have this opportunity to talk with you today, and I thank you for listening.